Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k show. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Justin Frederick and Ryan Gerdes. You know, when it comes down to investing in real estate, there are two types of people. There are those that get misled and follow not necessarily the greatest advice in the world, and then there are those that see financial opportunities in just about every opportunity. So I came across this article, and the headline is, "Don't buy a house if it has any of these 10 problems." And then later on in the article, the author says, "Here are some of the biggest things to look for when you shop for a house that should stop you from buying." Now, I'm just going to really quickly go over the 10. We're not going to expound on the 10. We're going to talk about how ludicrous this premise is. Number one, a foundation that needs repairs. Number two, an aging or damaged roof. Number three, extensive water damage. Number four, it's a low-quality house flip. Number five, extensive wall and ceiling cracks, which we have. Just about every house has ceiling cracks, right?
Yeah, if it has drywall or stucco, you're going to have cracks.
Number six, an exterior in bad condition. Number seven, high radon levels, which, okay, I might pause for a second on the radon levels. Number eight, extensive termite damage. Number nine, plumbing issues. And number 10, an electrical system that needs repairs.
Where's the lead-based paint? I went through real estate school, and they said that, I have to, have these huge conversations about lead-based paint on 78 or older. That's nowhere in here, but keep going.
Well, that was the list. And I think for savvy investors, when we see major problems, number one group sees a major problem and they hightail it and get out of Dodge, leaving room for savvy investors and guys like us when there are major problems. Sure, some problem could exist and you can't come to an agreement and you need to walk away. But a lot of these problems on this list, I see opportunity. Mm-hmm. Like I want to work with a desperate seller who's had the house on the market for 60 days and now's got $15,000, $18,000, $20,000, $25,000 of roof repairs that our home inspector, Anthony Cucci from HCP Inspections, catches during the negotiating process.
So you know what I'm hearing more and more, just when I'm hearing consumers talk, they're saying don't use the inspector that your agent refers you over to.
What?
I've heard it probably about a half dozen times in the past month. And I never really paid attention to that because maybe I've heard it before. But for some reason or another, a few months ago, I was just like, why would you think that, right? And so only thing that I can surmise from it is that agents are, hiring crappy inspectors so that all the inspections come back looking good, and then buyers buy a shitty house, right? And so I'm looking at all these things. So there's a handful of these things that can definitely be caught, right? And inspect, but it's hilarious how most people think that inspectors can literally rip apart a house. Like they cannot take down drywall to go see whether or not the plumbing's been installed correctly behind walls. Mm-hmm. If there's no attic space, they can't get up there to confirm whether or not there's enough insulation. They can generally tell whether or not there's roof conditions. But I mean, let's face it. I mean, sometimes roofs, they generally go quick, and most people think that like with roofs, if the shingles are in good condition, the roof must be in good condition. The shingles, for the most part, are pretty much aesthetic. Like they do serve a purpose.
Yeah,
right?
It's like me. You don't want to take a look at or imagine what my cholesterol level looks like and what my heart looks like based on my exterior good looks
or
and
your
charm,
or your GFR.
Yeah, my GFR. It's when the doctor digs deep. That's when the problem. That same thing with the roof,
right? So I would just say when you're considering what that inspection process looks like and the do's, and you're considering some of these things that Mike you just threw out here that's on this article, ask some questions about it. Do some research on it. Like, you have these supercomputers in your pocket, right? And while I'm not saying believe everything on the internet, there's some like very obvious trusted sources on there. Generally, if it has a .gov behind it, there's been a good amount of research. If there's been a university that has done some actual testing on certain things, then those can usually be trusted. Like, use some common sense on these things, because like you, I see opportunity up and down this list, because I like going in there and knowing what kind of work has been done on it. I generally I'm not the guy out there looking to buy something that's in brand new condition unless it's a brand new home. I do think that there's tremendous upside in new builds, but if I see a home that's been completely renovated, and I'm gonna not for any other purpose than I would rather buy the one that's in terrible shape, and then I know exactly how it's being done, and I get to choose the finishes that I want and make it mine. So,
but not everybody is just not every buyer or investor maybe has that type of jack laying around to just be able to take a reduced price, which is one that's definitely one of the biggest opportunities is coming down on price. But there's other things like we get a home inspection and we have had buyers come back and the home inspection says roof needs to be replaced, serious water damage, and your buyer goes, and not our buyers, but a buyer goes, well, I'm out. I don't want to take over that. Walk me through those conversations and how you're helping see our buyers, because at the end of the day, you may have to walk. Well, not all things come to an amicable resolution, but doesn't mean just because there's a major problem, you should automatically throw in the towel.
Well, so there's a couple of points of negotiation. First off, if you're buying a home that's 30 years old, 50 years old, or whatever, you're gonna run into problems. That's just the way that the older it is, the higher the likelihood of having problems. That's just all that there is to it. The Register of Contractor, which dictates and governs the way builders build and the types of materials that are available to them, changes every single day. So what would have been completely up to code in 1975 is going to be completely different than what it is here in 2024. So if your expectation is that you're going to walk into that 1975 home and that the seller is going to completely update the property to 2024 regulations, you're fighting a losing fight, right? And so I look at these things and I say, okay, I need to negotiate with good justification, right? So if it has $20,000 in roof repairs, right? I know I'm not buying a brand new home with a brand new roof, but if I have a couple years on that, then I can say, okay, this type of roof typically lasts 20 years. Okay, well, 18. You ate up 18 of those years, and we're buying this at a full retail price. Then I'm going to want a good amount of that money either knocked off the purchase price of the home, but it somehow needs to be reflected, right? Because whenever we're looking at the way that we do residential is to do a comparative market analysis, and I also use an income approach on it. But if I'm doing a comparative market analysis, I'm going to say, okay, this home at totally to the nines, pimped out, is worth $700,000, and if I'm buying it for $600,000, there's probably because it might have an older roof, or maybe it didn't, the kitchen's a little bit older, or whatever, right? So I'm just going to go back to the numbers. But if I'm paying $700,000 for that $700,000 at fully jacked out price, then give me a new roof, right? So it's always going to boil back to the justification behind the negotiation. And so I can go over to a seller and I can go over to a buyer, depending on which side of the table I'm on, and say, look, you should do the roof because you are getting new roof pricing here, or buyer, you're getting old roof pricing, so deal with it, right? So that's just you can go down this laundry list, and I'm going to approach each and every single one of them the same exact way.
All right, if you would like to just talk shop, talk strategy, talk investing in real estate, we'd love to have that conversation with you. Our team of real estate wealth managers is standing by. All you got to do is text the word house to 623-AZ-RECON. That's house to 623-AZ-RECON. All right, I think a damaged roof, destroyed roof, whatever the case is, I think it's the easiest one, Justin, for people to wrap their heads around. Number one, the best day, in my opinion, to get your home inspection done is during a storm. If there is roof issues and you're doing your home inspection and there's a storm, and I tell buyers too, anytime between now and the close of escrow, if there's a major storm, let's pop our head in and check the ceiling. We're going to know. A lot of people go, okay, well, I'm just going to walk away. Bad roof. Okay, well, let's talk about this. And I know there's some things that we need to be careful with on the lending side. The last thing that you want to see and your underwriter wants to see, there's problems with the roof. But there are things that we can do on our end and say, okay, like for instance, some sort of escrow holdback. All right. Seller, in essence, is not going to fix the roof right now. But once you buy the property, once you close escrow, there is going to be a portion of funds from their equity position being held by title or being held by the escrow company, then that can pay directly the roofer. Now you move in and you got a brand new roof. So whereas you might have walked away from a great opportunity because there's a bad roof, you are now getting the best of both worlds. And we might ask for a reduction in price as well.
You guys do a really good job about that. With our escrow holdbacks, as far as lending goes, we're not allowed to have that in there because it's a safety issue with a roof. So you guys always do a good negotiation and talk to the title company and have them hold that outside of our guidelines. And as long as it passes appraisal, we're good to go. And it takes a bad roof to not pass an appraisal, right? But
Especially conventional.
especially conventional. But, that's what you guys have Anthony doing at HCP, making sure that roof is good. And our appraiser's not getting up on the roof to check it out. They're taking pictures from the street. So if there's not any visual damage, they're not going to call it out. But obviously, when you guys get Anthony up on the roof and he can see that there's issues, then we can figure it out from there. But yeah, you guys do an excellent job every time we have something like that come up. You guys are always figuring out something to wheel and deal with the sellers. And the sellers, the thing is that everybody's got to know out there, the sellers know that this stuff is here. You don't live in a house for a long period of time and not know that there's some sort of issue with one of these 10 items that we've brought up here. So they know that there's the issue. So when it's brought up in a negotiation process, they were like, yeah, we were afraid that was going to happen. We know that we need to pay the piper at this point. So it tends to be a little bit easier of a conversation because they know it's there.
There was a day and time, believe it or not, guys. I didn't know as much as I did to do today.
No way.
And know about, as savvy as I am, and I was representing an investor, California investor, and we were buying 2 fourplexes somewhere downtown Phoenix. Price was right, terms, everything was great. Hire the home inspector, and he calls me basically from the waist up coming out of the roof. He had just literally fallen through the roof.
Oh, shit.
The top. He was
Yeah, so if you drove by, you just see his torso, right?
Oh, dude.
And so, our automatic response was, well, we can't buy this place. I'm looking back going, boy, I'm kicking myself. Like, I bet we really could have wheeled and dealed and done good. So there's a lot goes into it. There's a lot goes into the strategies. I guess the point of all of this is talk with a real estate wealth manager. Just don't go by the bad news on the inspection report because you may be walking away from some great opportunities. We'd love to have that conversation with you. All you got to do is text the word house to 623-AZ-RECON. All right, guys, it's Friday. It's date night.
Yeah,
It's date night.
Okay.
It's date night. You're going out with your brides tonight, taking them out to dinner, and they say, I want Italian. Where do you go, and what are you specifically ordering? And I know it's easy for me because I come up with these like days before we go on air. But it's Italian. It's Italian night.
All right, I'm going to let Ryan go first on this because
I have an asshole answer. Is my problem. I'm gonna cook for her if she wants Italian.
Okay.
And if it's going to depend on whether the time of year, whether or not I'm making lasagna or cioppino.
Okay.
So that's there are some really good spots out there, but the ones that do it better than me cost just an arm and a leg, and I'm like, the value is just not quite there for me. And plus, I enjoy cooking, so that's the difference, right? So
if you want to come over to Ryan's house for cioppino, text the word cioppino to 623 AZ Recon.
if you would like one of my lasagnas, buy a house and have a baby.
there you go.
And I'll make you a lasagna, done in 1,000 times.
Justin?
So we're not big Italian people, but I'll tell you.
Jeez,
So
this is the wrong
right,
topic.
right? We're not big Italian people. So I'll tell you though, if we were to do this, and we've done it very few times, but I know it's very generic, but we're Olive Garden people.
Oh my gosh.
and I'll get
This is the worst end
what's
to
the
a
Italian-
Dude,
episode.
and this is your own damn fault.
Yeah.
You get to think about it all day,
Sure.
and then you throw it at us, and you give us 30 seconds. I can tell you what my Italian place was, but it's out of business now due to COVID, and that's El Posto. They're gone.
Yeah.
So we don't really have an Italian joint anymore.
All right, so mine, and I hesitate because my 18-year-old son's in the studio, and his girlfriend works at my second favorite Italian place, so I don't want to offend him. But when it comes down to cioppino, out at a restaurant, no one does it better than Valley Luna. And
That's a
not
Mexican-
Valley Luna.
Italian.
That's
I'm like, man,
Mexican food,
that's a
dude.
I was
great
just
Mexican
saying-
food place.
Tutti Santi.
Tutti Santi.
Okay, two names in the name, so it's the same thing. Yeah, Tutti Santi. There's one on 16th Street and somewhere near Bethany Home, and then there's one by my house on Greenway and like 56th. But cioppino is my favorite Italian dish of all time. I could eat cioppino every night, and Tutti Santi. Valley Luna's not bad for Mexican food either.
No,
Throw
that's
that
right.
out there. So
Yep. And we used to do the Fazoli's and whatnot when it was, and they're coming back.
They're
though, right?
coming back,
Or they're
baby.
back.
They were
They're
everywhere.
They're
dude, the
already back.
breadsticks and the lemon
Yeah.
ices.
Oh, yeah.
Oh dear God.
But yeah, we did the Olive Gardens and we did all that fun stuff. But yeah, Italian food.
All right, I'm going to make it fair.
Okay.
I'm going to make it fair. Okay. Next week, Ryan, you get to choose the
I-
topic,
I-
and we're going to rotate.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
a good deal.
Okay, because
Yeah, can you tell us in advance?
I'll
too?
tell you in
I
advance.
appreciate it
no,
because this
no,
guy
no,
over
no,
here.
no,
geez.
don't tell us in advance. It's having that initial response, like, that's the best part.
Okay. All right.
Because then it sounds really rehearsed,
Fair. Okay.
like when Justin does the Pledge of Allegiance, like he's reading from a script.
I mean, yeah, been doing it a long time.
All right, go ahead and text the word house to 623 AZ Recon.